This is a short video on short scale guitars, and it's just to complement a written article on the website, and you can find a link to that article under the video, so go check the full article out with quotes from luthiers and things like that. But I just wanted to do a video to kind of communicate some of the ideas a little bit more clearly, right? This is my new short scale guitar by Douglas Scott. And it depends, like when we talk about scale length, we're actually talking about the string length from the saddle of the bridge to the nut here. The standard scale length these days is 650, but like 25 years ago, there was lots of guitars at 660 and beyond. Those big, big Spanish sounding guitars did have like big scale lengths. And maybe shorter scales change the sound, or they certainly change the tension of the strings a little bit. But when we're talking about scale length, we're talking about from there to there, and 650 is millimeters, right? My guitar here is a 632, I think, or around a 630 millimeter scale length. It also has a smaller body. And I think the question that most students have for me is, should they get a small scale guitar or a regular size guitar? Now, one thing you should realize is that I'm quite short. So I'm fairly small, so it makes sense it makes a little bit of sense to me to play a smaller instrument. A full-size instrument, which I've always played my entire life for like 25 years before I got this guitar, has always felt fine, but it's like just a little bit more bulky and a little bit bigger, and there's not as much room with my legs, depending on the builder as well. But having a shorter scale instrument can make it a little bit more comfortable. But will it make you a better player? No. That's definitely a misconception. Like, people often will hear the idea like, oh, I need a short scale guitar. It'll make everything easier. I would say it might make things a little bit more comfortable, but most stretches on classical guitar don't last for very long. And the biggest problem by far for most people is just accuracy, right? It has less to do with the stretch, more to do with accuracy and relaxation in their technique and their body. Being relaxed in your hand allows you to do large stretches. Like some of my students that have giant hands, they can't stretch as far as I can because their position hasn't been fully worked out, and they're not as relaxed, so they're not able to stretch the fingers as much because there's tension in their hand. So that creates a whole bunch of misconceptions. Like, most people, if you want to play better and you want to get those stretches, you got to improve your technique and make sure you really address tension issues in your playing, and also work on the precision of your technique, playing close to the frets and things like that. Those are the things that will make you a better player, not a short scale guitar. A short scale guitar will make things a little bit more comfortable. They might make the reach of the instrument a little bit better, but it's not going to make you a better player right off the bat, right? The other thing you should realize is that when we talk about short scale guitars, the scale length has been shortened, but that's spread out between all the frets, right? So even on my instrument, like, the difference between the distance of the frets is only going to be a few millimeters, maybe only a millimeter at most, right? Because you have to spread that scale length across all these individual frets. So it's not like you're gaining like 10 millimeters or like an entire centimeter on any of the frets. The distance between the frets are actually only minutely smaller. Like, it's so subtle that it's barely noticeable. The thing that is noticeable is that the nut of the guitar is clearly closer to your shoulder. So like when I first played on smaller scale guitars, you would kind of feel like the first fret is here, but now it's here. So it feels smaller, but the distance between the actual frets is almost, I would say it's almost indistinguishable. The thing that I like almost as much as the shorter scale is a smaller body instrument. And that does change the sound a little bit. I think it actually makes a more focused sound. But that said, the smaller body for me, as a small person, I'm not that short, but I am short. The smaller body means that, like, putting my body around the instrument and just dropping into this instrument like this and bringing my hand up, and also like getting it between my legs, it just feels a little bit more comfortable. I'm not having to bring my right leg like too far over anymore, and I don't have to extend my arm out too much. Like if you play it on a big Spanishy guitar with like a big wide body or something, you can notice like it feels like the guitar is really out there. This instrument is so much smaller that I really feel like I can drop my shoulder much more. And then the contact is right on my forearm there, and I end up pretty much right in the spot of the, like right near the rosette and sound hole, like a nice medium, not too ponticello, not too tasto. It kind of like feels pretty good right there. Those are some good reasons to get a small scale instrument. So a little bit more comfortable, suits the body type a little bit more. It brings the nut of the guitar closer to your shoulder, making first position playing probably a little bit more comfortable. Reasons not to get a short scale guitar, because it's a trend. Don't get a short scale guitar because you think it's going to make you a better player. It won't. Will stretches be easier on the instrument? Not by much. I would say a little bit. I mean, it does. It does make it easier, but not by that much. I would say better word is more comfortable. But I don't think I can play anything on this instrument that I couldn't play on my previous instrument. There's nothing that about the change, even though it's pretty drastic. I didn't just go to 640. I went to 630 from 650 millimeter. There's nothing so drastic that there's nothing I can play better. I'm just a little bit more comfortable. One last thing is that a lot of players have been getting 640 millimeter guitars, and that's really not a very noticeable difference. We're talking about 10 millimeters spread across all these frets, and even 10 millimeters here is not much. Really, like if you move your left leg over a centimeter, that brings the nut of the guitar closer to my shoulder by about a centimeter. That's pretty significant. About as significant as a 10 millimeter change, probably more significant. So when you get a smaller scale instrument, I would try out like a 630 millimeter, because that's a real difference. That you will notice. Like I said, it won't make you a better player necessarily, but you'll notice it. You'll notice it's smaller. You'll notice it's more comfortable. And then it's 20 millimeters spread across all these frets, and 20 millimeters maybe closer to your shoulder, making first position much more significantly easy. But just don't fool yourself. I mean, like, so much of our technique is based on our how we set up our guitar position and our bodies. So anyway, that's a little post about short scale instruments. Kind of a rambling post, but it's a topic that's really tricky, and the only way to really make a decision is to go try some. Next time you're in a big center or city, go try one out, because that's the only real way to know. And I wouldn't order one just because it's a trend or because you think it's gonna improve your playing. Get one because it does feel a little bit more comfortable, and maybe you're just a little bit shorter than the average height. That's what I did, and I'm super happy with my purchase. And if you want to see more information about my guitar, just follow the link under the YouTube video.